Welcome to the official podcast of the Ogden Surgical Medical Society. Since 1946, the Ogden Surgical Medical Society has been educating our medical community. In this podcast, we bring you the voices of medical experts in your community from around the world. Please note that the opinions and ideas shared on this podcast are those of the speakers and not the opinions of the Ogden Surgical Medical Society or its board. While medical topics will be discussed, it should not be taken as strict medical advice, and individual clinical judgment is warranted in a client's information to patient care. It is a responsibility to the listener to judge for themselves the applicability of the information discussed with regards to their medical practice.
Today is February 12th, 2026. We welcome Val Johnson, MD, who will be giving our board education requirement tonight at the Ogden Country Club for 2026. Val B. Johnson, our Ogden Surgical Medical Society trustee and historian, started attending Ogden Surgical annual meetings with his father, Vernal Johnson, MD. Dr. Johnson graduated from Ogden High and then went on for 1 year at Weber College, 2 years to the University of Utah. He graduated from Washington University Medical School in St. Louis, Missouri. From there, he went to the U.S. Public Health Service at the University of Washington in Seattle for his residency in pathology. He then started working as a pathologist at St. Benedict's Hospital, which was above Ogden High up 30th in Ogden, Utah. Then in 1976, St. Benedict's became Ogden Regional Medical Center. Over these same years, because there was a lack of pathologists, Dr. Johnson also worked at McCady Hospital, Davis Hospital. On Fridays would go up to Logan to their hospital, and also spent time at Brigham City Hospital to help with the pathology. We welcome Dr. Val B. Johnson, MD.
I feel honored to be able to address you about the Ogden Surgical Medical Society history. If I get hoarse, that's because I do in the evening. But I'll try to speak clearly, and I'm taking a lot of my information from this book. I just tried to finish writing my talk while you were eating. I didn't get quite finished. This little booklet is available. It has a very famous author. Well, I'm not the only author of it, but and it will be at the meetings in May as well for you to get copies of. It's been there most years. And it's an interesting little about 30-page booklet. And there's a lot of history that ties into Ogden. You're a bunch of kids compared to me. And there are a lot of things about the history of Ogden that you have no idea about, many of which tie in to the Ogden Surgical Society and why it began and how it began. And that's a topic for another whole series of lectures about the Eccleses and the Brownings and the Riches and the Wattises and Utah Construction Company, which most people in Utah have never heard of. And I would love to go into that history, but no, we won't do that except for just a tiny bit. But in any event, the Ogden Surgical Society, I hope that this works, okay, was begun in 1946 in the old D Hospital, which is here. I worked in there when I was 16. And this was built in honor of Thomas D. by his wife when he died after falling in the Ogden River and getting pneumonia and dying. And Ogden did not have a defined hospital at that time. The railroads were big business, and so the railroad companies each had sort of their own hospitals or clinics. In any event, so in 1946, in April, the first meeting of the Ogden Surgical Society, which was its first name, was held. And this is something that those three doctors that founded this organization, Dr. George Pfister, Ezekiel Dumke, and Clark Rich, they believed in this, that just because they had finished medical school and were out in practice, they knew that things would advance, and they felt that postgraduate instruction was important. Here are the three founders of the organization. I knew two of them personally, but not all three. This was the program from the first meeting, April of 1946, in the lecture room of the Thomas D. Memorial Hospital. A question from the back.
Where is that hospital located in Ogden?
24th Street, between 24th and, is it Capitol? Capitol, on the east side of Harrison Boulevard. It is now a park. In any event, the way this came about was probably in 1945, the three doctors were meeting in the cloakroom of that hospital. That was kind of, I can remember this kind of thing happening. And they would just kind of say, maybe we ought to do something to enhance our education. And, and the next time they would be together somewhere, the same subject would come up, but they didn't do anything about it until finally, in I think February of 1946, one of them said, "Are we ever going to do anything about this?" And so they began to do something. And they said, "Okay, each one of you choose a speaker to come to a meeting, and we'll start having a meeting." And so you will remember maybe the names of some of these people that were invited, and somewhere along the line, I will mention their name. Oh, look at this. I found it already. Okay, so anyway, they asked Dr. C.B. Huggins. He's a little older than I am. He was the first speaker at their meetings, and he earned the Nobel Prize in Medicine 20 years later, 1966. They also invited Alton Ochsner from Louisiana. He was not able to come that first year, but after that, he came virtually every year. And in fact, one year, the city of Ogden honored him as this longest returning famous physician here. Here are some other of the speakers. I didn't put the whole program down, but there were 38 physicians that attended this meeting. It was held in the we called it the nursing home. It wasn't a nursing home as we know it. It was the nurses' home, a building separate but behind the old D hospital, where nurses in training would live there during their training period. And they had an instruction room in there, and that's where the first meeting was held. 38 people attending. It was determined that that was going to be too small because people didn't all fit in the room, and there were people standing in the hall and in the doorways to witness these meetings. So after that first year, the meeting was moved to the Ben Lomond Hotel in downtown Ogden. Now, these will be just kind of some random things that I'll go through about topics. The meetings for at least 1 year, I remember, because I began attending them when I was 17 years old with my father. My father was an obstetrician and involved in the meetings, and he would take me with him down to the meetings. This is the old Ogden Theater. None of you know that place. It's on 25th Street, just half a block above Washington Boulevard on the north side, where there's now some kind of city or county office building, kind of next to Farr's Jewelry. I'll throw in a plug there. But we held the meeting there for a year or two. And so here's the doctors lining up to go in to register for that meeting. 1 year, 1987, Noel Nellis, who likes to ski, decided we should have a winter ski meeting. He was president of the organization that year. So we held a one-day meeting in February. It was not really very successful. The idea was for doctors to come because this is a great ski place, hold the meetings in the morning, and then ski in the afternoon, and then I guess have some kind of party at night. It lasted 1 year. But in any event, it was an attempt at something different. This one is one where I get to kind of take a hack at the attorneys in the last part of the paragraph. We must always be students, learning and unlearning till your life's end. And if, gentlemen, you're not prepared to follow your profession in this spirit, I implore you to leave its ranks and betake yourself to some third-class trade. Anyway, Joseph Lord Lister, what is named after him? Lister. Okay. Speakers we had very early were because these three doctors that founded this had connections. Charles Mayo of the Mayo Clinic. In those days, here it shows 1950. The laser doesn't really show on the screen, but the doctor's offices would close for the 2.5 days of the meeting. The hospital would close its surgery operating rooms, except for emergency cases for the Ogden Surgical Society. I mean, this was a big deal. This was the biggest, can't think of the word I want to use, kind of event in Ogden. Okay, I'll just go through some of these things. These were topics at some of the meetings. Now we had, and I'm trying to think of his name, it was at Channel 7 television in Salt Lake, and he was kind of a history type person, and I can see him in my mind's eye, and he was a speaker for us 1 year. And this was of interest to me because these prisoners, my great-grandfather is one of them, in there down at the old Utah Territorial Penitentiary in Sugar House. And my great-grandfather died after he was in there of pneumonia. He was in 1 week. But this was part of that Utah historical lecture by that particular television personality. Dr. Ochsner from Louisiana came almost every year except for the first year. There's the major clinic in New Orleans, is it at Tulane University? The Ochsner Clinic. And much of his fame came because he was one of the very first physicians to really advocate against smoking, and had made connections between smoking and lung cancer, as well as other lung diseases. Okay, some more talks. This is Dr. Pfister, one of the organizers, and he was a urologist here in town. In 1966, he became president of the American Medical Association. We've had two Ogden doctors, president of the American Medical Association, Dr. Pfister and John Nelson, whom some of you may know. These are some other people, I couldn't read their names, but some other dignified medical speakers. Now, there were social things going on as well. The top person is my father, on the left, Noel Tanner, from the Tanner Clinic, and J.J. Christensen's wife on the far right. But anyway, the doctors' wives, because we had no women physicians in Ogden back in those days. The doctors' wives were very active in the organization. The newspaper used to have a whole social section once a week in the Ogden Standard Examiner newspaper. And there would be all kind of things about the medical society and what the women were doing with, we'll get to that. This is the Egyptian Theater, another place where we held the meetings back in earlier times.
You mentioned about women physicians. When was the first female physician?
I don't know. I don't know.
Prior to physicians, there was women nurse midwives who were doing a lot of the
Yes.
delivery of babies, right?
Yes. Yes.
But they just were physicians.
Yeah. Other dignitaries that we had as speakers, Mario Capecchi from the University of Utah, Nobel Prize winner and whatever. That's only a few years ago. Okay. And we also brought in Dr. Donnell Thomas from Seattle, who was a Nobel Prize winner in medicine also. And his work was in doing the first bone marrow transplants. It looks like we've got, for the women, a get acquainted brunch, a luncheon and fashion show, dinner and dancing. I mean, this was a big social deal for...
What year is that?
It's May 20th. I don't know. Up at the top, one of the gremlins got into the picture, and so I can't tell you. Okay, but anyway, so here are, and in those days, I mean, people dressed a little, we dressed more, I don't know whether to call it formally or professionally, the doctors and the spouses. So these are some of the doctors' wives, and in fact, I think the one on the right's my mother. And okay, they were probably having a luau party, because the speakers that we would invite, their wives were invited to come with them as well. And we paid airfare for them and so on. Yes, sir.
And in those days, weren't the members of the society hosting the speakers?
In those days, I'm glad you brought it up, because in those early days, the speakers would usually stay at the homes of the doctors here in town. I remember that as a child, because I think I had to move out of my bedroom one time because of that. But yes, we hosted the speakers, we took them and entertained them and so on. Okay, well now here's, okay, I remember Dr. Kearns, but I didn't know his wife Judy. Up at the top, some of you remember.
My wife would not volunteer for this.
Okay, Sharon Lewis, Carolyn Nebaker's sister, Sharon Lewis there. And the women they'd put on skits and fashion shows and teas and luncheons at one of the members' houses. We had the speaker from BYU, who's an expert on Lewis and Clark, came up one year and gave an interesting talk about Lewis and Clark expedition. We've had the speakers on wilderness medicine, a number of them. We've had speakers who've climbed Mount Everest. One of our doctors, Dr. George Lowe's son, George Jr., has summited Everest twice, and we've had him speak. Okay, this is kind of interesting here from the Dean of Harvard Medical School. Half of what you're taught as medical students will in 10 years have been shown to be wrong, and the trouble is none of your teachers know which half. Okay, this is last year, I believe, this speaker with new technology, he's in London, and he's speaking to us here in Ogden by whatever, Zoom or something else. So we've seen a lot of technology changes. This is I think he was a police officer, but he was injured, and as you can see, he has artificial limbs. Here is someone with artificial hands. And what is interesting now, and somebody told me Elon Musk has some new thing to do with your brain that he's dealing with, but at the University of Utah, that they have made these artificial hands that not only can move, but they've got them set and connected to nerves somehow, so you can feel sensation in the artificial limb. I mean, this is all magic stuff. Okay, this is, sometimes we have book selling. If we have authors, they will do book signing and sell some of their books and that sort of thing. Here's just a general picture in one of the meetings showing a pretty good crowd, and it looks like we're eating. It seems like we eat a lot at these meetings. And I don't know why the gremlins blanked the bottom of you out, but they did. No, this happened in a few of the pictures. Okay, Dr. Noel Nellis, who still comes to the meetings and still skis, he was president. And back in his day and before, if you were president, well, we used to hold what we called the president's reception. And that would be like on maybe Thursday night. And sometimes it was held here, and the president got to pay for it. Okay, that has changed now. But back in the early days, the president. Okay, we had speakers from Hillfield. They want to be engaged with us. And so here is a speaker either this past year or the year before from Hillfield, telling us about military medicine and how we are engaged with them. We've had, at Weber State University now, we have a health education department called the Dumke Health Education Department. And the director, or the chairman, the dean, is Yaz Simonian, there on the right, who is retiring this year. She's been there for like 45 years, something like that. And so that we have several health-related programs going on up at Weber. Okay, we had some infectious disease speakers through the times. Okay, here is what? COVID. And I don't know that we had that kind of overload that you see on the left. I just don't know in our hospitals here. But it was a difficult time for many places. Now, this gets to put in a plug for IHC because they sent a lot of people to, I think this is in New York. Some of you would know about this, but this was during the COVID time. Oh, it says New York, yeah. Okay, and we've had speakers that talked about the so-called long COVID symptoms. I'm just kind of going through, but I guess it hasn't. And so we had an interesting talk on the rise of congenital syphilis, which means that the parent would have had syphilis as well. This has to do with COVID again. You can see at our meetings during that time, our attendees would be wearing masks. I think some of them look better with masks on than. We had a very interesting speaker, I think about 2 years ago, having to do with when the soccer team of young people were trapped in the cave in Thailand, and the person that was in charge of that rescue operation spoke to us. Now, we were able to get him in part because his father is a physician in Salt Lake, as I recall. So there was a connection, but he reported on this rescue of those children. So these are just some kind of random pictures because they had to go into the cave, swim underwater to get into where the children were. A very dangerous situation. Anyway, so these are just kind of random pictures from that, and this was a huge deal. I think, as I recall, that made the fellow he was with, some of you might remember, I think he was the president of Thailand, who went down to the rescue site when they were doing this. And here's how they had to rescue. It was flooded inside. They had to take the children one at a time, put a face mask on them, hold on to them, swim through the flooded out part to get them out. This was a very interesting situation. Now, some of these will be a little out of order. I'm not sure why. But this is the board of Ogden Surgical a few years back, probably, 20 years back, when we would have a retreat up to Driggs, Idaho. Dr. Robert Whipple and Jim Starley have cabins up there. We would go up there as a board for about a 2-night retreat, have meetings, do some activities. It's just made it worthwhile being on the board. And here is and Steve Sharman, he'd always take off and go leave the group and go climb some mountain and run back down to meet with us later in the afternoon. And at night we could sit around the campfire and, oh, there we go. That was supposed to be the first picture. But that's the view from the cabins of Dr. Whipple and Dr. Starley. All right, and then other activities, McKay Hospital. sponsored family night out at the dinosaur park. And it was just really wonderful. You know, to bring the children, they would have a buffet line there, and the kids could run around and jump on dinosaurs and all that kind of stuff. And that was discontinued a few years ago. We've made an effort with McKay to see if we could have them reinstitute this program. It's not been successful yet, but we're hoping that it can be. In the meantime, they sponsor a movie night at one of the theaters downtown Ogden, which I've not been to, so I don't know how successful those have been. Okay, all right. Now here's Heather and her youngest child, Harrison, at the dinosaur park. They have things other than dinosaurs. They've got the gold panning sluice with rocks and crystals in it that the people can try panning at. They need to put more gold in there, I think. Okay, and some of the dinosaurs are very nice, and the little children like them. We've had other activities. This was at Antelope Island where we had an activity, and we had a night sky viewing party out there with people that had access to telescopes or who knew people that had, you know, big time telescopes. And we had an activity out there. The Nature Center, we had a family outing out there. Dr. Wallen there, when he was president, the night that we were supposed to have entertainment at our dinner, we waited. There were 400 people there to have dinner and be entertained. And we waited, and we waited, and we waited, and we waited. And the entertainment didn't show up. They had just neglected to recognize that they had signed up for this. Anyway, okay, another activity was out west of Ogden at a farm where you could bring the children, and they had set up these slides. It looks like ice, but it's not ice, but it looks like it. And activities out there that were fun. We've had our own 5K race, and then Ogden instituted the marathon, and we worked with them to get that at the same time as our meetings on Saturday so that there could be some cross participation. Oh yes, and I got to be careful. Okay, we had about 3 years ago, a meeting on healthy lifestyle. And, you know, we went to McDonald's. We went to McDonald's at the end of the day. But anyway, so this is healthy. It looks like shredded carrots. And we had interesting lectures about it, about you could choose that for life or choose this for death. And I know which one I would choose. Anyway. Okay, oh yeah. And there was, we had an author, he had 2 books. One was called How Not to Diet. And then the other one, How Not to Die. So, and talking about food and eating, it's not exactly like the David that I've seen in person. We've had entertainment usually on Thursday nights at what used to be the president's reception, various entertainments. I'm just kind of rambling now. This is one of the first diamond presses to make synthetic diamonds. Did you? Yeah, this is Weber State. That's what?
The science building up there.
In the, just a minute, Hall. The Tracy, in the Hall building. Tracy Hall, who is an Ogdenite, is the inventor of the synthetic diamond. And you can go see this gadget machine up there. These are Dr. Dumke's, I think, granddaughters. And they made a presentation to us. It looks like about 4 years ago, because some are wearing masks. And we honored them, and they also presented us with $1 million check. I think you know him, particularly if you were in the residency program.
I still play pickleball. Every Saturday. And you do not give him any.
Now, I'm gonna.
Oh, yes. Depends on the day.
I'm gonna go back to this. I'm gonna go back to this picture for a moment. The Dumke granddaughters and the $1 million check. So Dr. Dumke, one of the 3 founders of our organization, he had a successful medical practice, but not on the order that you would think if they're giving $1 million. He was wise in marriage. He married Edna Wattis. Do any of you know that name?
Utah construction.
Okay. Edna Wattis, her brothers and father, as I recall, began what was called, first of all, Wattis Construction, then Utah Construction, and then Utah International, the largest international construction firm in the world.
Did they build the Hoover Dam? Is that right?
They built 58 dams.
Okay.
They were the lead builder in Hoover Dam, Boulder Dam, Grand Coulee Dam, a bunch of others. They built railroads here in this country. They built railroads in Indonesia and in Australia, built huge mines in Australia. This is a whole other story to go into, and that's the foundation of the $1 million that ultimately got donated to us. And we should get someone to give us really the whole history about that, because it is fascinating. Okay, well, here's the board back a year or 2 or 3. I know what this is. Well, yes, the skill labs. We instituted skill labs. We had What's New in My Specialty, which used to be, and I think for many is still the most interesting part of our program. So skill labs and breakout sessions. I think this must be teaching some suture. I thought we sutured pig's feet or something like that. But this looks like suturing chicken breasts or something.
Yeah, with Dr. Matson, it was handheld ultrasounds.
Okay, Dr. Sharman's giving a breakout session. I don't remember exactly what this is. That's just thrown in because it's kind of like if we were to look at how medicine was when this organization began and compare it to today, to me, this is magic. This is magic stuff. And oh yeah, at our meetings, everyone and their dog was there. And this, again, is at the COVID time, so we've got all the
Registration.
registration. Okay, and here's one of our very faithful members, Rhonda Lair from the past. And she's passed away, of course, but she was an interesting person. She knew a lot of interesting people. In fact, yes, one year she invited, have any of you heard of Dizzy Gillespie? A trumpet player from New York or wherever. He has a daughter who had a jazz band. And so she invited the daughter and her jazz band to come for entertainment to our meeting. And so they came, but the bass viol player in the band wouldn't ship his bass fiddle, bass viol, whatever you call it. So we had to buy an airplane ticket for the bass viol to be in an airplane seat with them to fly out. Now, there are other interesting things also that that have happened with some of our speakers. One of them wanted to see some of the sites around Utah. And so we told him that, fine, we'll have someone drive you and escort you to these things. Because in those days, the drug reps would do that kind of thing, as well as go to the airport to pick up our speakers and transport them up and back. Well, the speaker said, no, you don't need to bother with that. Well, then shortly thereafter, we got a bill from him. He hired a taxi driver to take him to Bryce and the Zions and Grand Canyon. And we got a bill from him for that. And on another occasion, we had a speaker coming from Sweden with his wife, and we got a bill for them. They stopped for 2 extra nights in Paris on the way so she could shop. And those have always been awkward situations we don't want to be taken advantage of, but at the same time, we don't want to alienate our speakers. Anyway, some interesting things like that. Oh, this was just to be thrown in. I got a kick out of it. Some other people. Okay. Okay, and then this is back in the skills lab. And then this is out at the vendor tables, I think it is, yeah. And this is also out at the vendors. Okay, a couple of our high-powered dignitaries here. Some speakers were more colorful than others. And that's just a picture.
Yeah, but you were in that one, Dr.
Oh, okay. And we've had topics on patient safety. There's Rhonda again with one of her friends. We've had lectures on African adventures as well as Mount Everest and other wilderness stuff. That was, ultrasound. That's an ultrasound thing. Okay, this year was interesting because we had really kind of a follow-up on Barney Clark. I think you would remember about Barney Clark. He was at the University of Utah, had the first implanted artificial heart, who was implanted by, give me his name. He's from Ogden, the surgeon. Okay. Yes. Dr. DeVries. Here is this must be a Netter drawing, Frank Netter drawing of the artificial heart.
He's still around.
So it was kind of nice to have some kind of sort of conclusion on that. Oh, here's the board again. We don't need to do that. And in our meetings, of course, we have microphones set up in the audience so people can make comments. I better not get into that particular comment.
Questions or make comments?
Well, okay, this is Curtis Peterson. He was president of the UMA this last year. I knew him quite well when I was more involved there. And Michelle McComber often comes up to give us a report on any legislative action that has taken place. Entertainment, various things. Musical, often. I think we had a magician. Oh, now here, we've learned about robots. So anyway, get ready in case I have to have you turn this one clockwise to the right. Anyway, oh no, it's working. Okay, good. Yeah, Dr. Frizz, learning how to use this robot to operate on. Okay. Dr. Glauco Flecken, and he was entertaining. Yeah, what is gender affirming? We've had a lecture on, a bunch of this stuff I don't quite understand myself, but they were newly introduced, and I've heard the terms, but I couldn't give you a lecture on them. Okay. Look how long it's been, 76 years since the first kidney transplant. And that was a miraculous thing back in that day. And we have some other connections. Dr. Willem Kalf at the University of Utah was the inventor, developer of one of the means of kidney dialysis. Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
Now, this is good. I don't think I put the other picture on when someone in the audience had a question, or was it a comment? Okay, we won't go into that. But that was Governor Levitt. Yeah, and I'm beginning to know this more and more about, what happens in school now. Okay, and this is the poster program that we have, some more entertainment. Oh, look, there's the big check. So this is good. Well, that story about really originally how that check would have come to be is a very interesting story. Okay, we have authors that do book signings. There's our registration desk. They are wonderful people, devoted and really good, really good. In the early days of this organization, the president's wife was, for that year, the director. She did all of the mailings, all of the communications. There were about 8 different committees of doctors, and I know that they, pawned that responsibility off on their wives to call, to get speakers, to make financial arrangements, to make accommodation arrangements. I mean, it was volunteer committees, which is all replaced now by Teresa. Okay, this is hospital night from McKay-D. We had, I can't remember if it was this year or last year, this woman is in the Ukraine. So through the magic of communication, she's giving her lecture to us from Ukraine about the war with Russia. We had Patch Adams here, and he was interesting. These are not Patch Adams. But they got involved and tied up in the enthusiasm. Okay, and here's one of the evening parties. I didn't know Harry Snekian could dance. We had Curtis Saunders, who has Alzheimer's, speak to us about what it is like in her stage of things to have this disease. Elizabeth Smart spoke to us. I'm doing a book signing for her here of this book. So that's about as famous as I get. The National Kidney Foundation of Utah and Idaho sponsors a speaker every year and a session. I just threw this in because okay, we had dermatology meetings this last year. I didn't put in all the dermatology pictures. We already had this picture from the pre-med programs. The only way to do great work is to love what you do. Steve Jobs. Now I'm blanking. I know him. This was down at the Union Station for entertainment one night.
Yes.
Joe McKee.
Yeah, Steve McQueen. No, I mean McQueen.
Joe McQueen. Joe McQueen, and he just died about a year or two ago. And he was great in his music groups. Some of you would know this person also, Clayton Furch, who lives up in Shadow Valley area. The KD residents give their talks, their research information. My neighbor over on the far left, Matt Spencer. Anyway, oh yeah, here's another one. The skills lab, yeah. And just the meeting in general, another skills lab. 1 year, well, I think more than 1 year, we had massage person come in. And a lot of the doctors originally thought, oh, that's very demeaning to our professionalism. Well, the next year, they were lined up to get the massage. We had a lecture on sexual assault and about how that relates to, say, your office practice or your practice in general. I mean, we have to be careful now, and it's unfortunate that one of the reasons I'm convinced that chiropractors seem to do fairly well is because they touch you. You know, they'll put their hand on your knee, and they won't be looking just at the computer while they're asking you questions. And you know, we don't touch. We're sensitive to that, and people are sensitive to that. Anyway, okay. Oh, the Virgil Parker's a long-time member of the society, and he came up one year wearing one of these noses. Ralph Frizz. This is up at the Earl's Lodge at Snow Basin. We had a dinner and entertainment up there. I know at least once. Some other entertainment. John Nelson, who from Ogden, who was president of the American Medical Association, part of the diet and lifestyle year. We had this, I guess it was 2 years ago. I thought it was this year. Anyway, some updates on the Utah abortion status. We had vaccine updates, which will still be going on, and we'll have some controversy in the country about that. Then finally, the social event sponsored by Davis Hospital and Tanner Clinic Family Night at Sequest out of the Layton Hills Mall. And I try to go to that and take some pictures. And there's a kid hugging a turtle toward us, I guess. And, the kids really like it. I didn't like this so much. It's kind of cute. And then the people at the top having the fish eat their feet there in the water. And then each year now we do have a retreat for the board. And this year it was up in Heber at this Heber Senator Bed and Breakfast. It's nice to get away. It's just one night, isn't it? Yeah. One night and a day and a half of meetings. I mean, first day, full day. And so shows that we're actually having a meeting. And, oh yes, an apple a day. What?
Keep the doctor away.
Okay.
Why is there not a picture of the love shack?
Okay. Okay, then we usually have some entertainment that night. And this was a magician doing his magic act, confounding me. I don't remember what all happened. But anyway, it's an enjoyable retreat, which is a benefit to be on the board. I think we're done.
Dr. Val, some questions for you. Two parts. The original founders, when they decided to start this education, was there any other groups out there doing this that they patterned it after?
Not specifically, except that those three doctors that founded it would go to a meeting somewhere every maybe couple of years to try to keep up to date on their practice. So they were aware of meetings to update their education, but they thought that that would be good to be community-based for our doctors here and bring in these other experts. And it's been very successful. From 38 people meeting in that first meeting to now we have somewhere, how many people register?
500.
500 people. They're not in that one room together all at the same time necessarily, but over the course of 3 to 3.5 days that we have our meetings, around 500 registrants. And it's the largest event like that in Ogden.
That leads to the second question. How many formats are out there like this today? This is the only one.
There's lots of meetings that you can go to for family medicine, dermatology, or urology, but there's not one that's for everyone.
I look at this sort of like an update of medical school to see what is going on in medicine in general.
Of those three family doctors, were they all local, born and raised?
No.
Or were they transplanted?
No, they were, George Pfister was from Logan. Ezekiel Dumpke was from Wisconsin. I've got it here somewhere. Anyway, he was from somewhere in the northern Midwest. Clark Rich was from here. because his grandfather is what Rich County, Bear Lake is named for. And
Now, there's also a history of training programs. Like when I came to Ogden 30-some years ago, a lot of the obstetricians had trained, I guess, at the OD hospital. Is that possible? Was there an internship or residency?
there was an internship at the OD hospital.
Were they part of Ogden Surgical ever?
I don't know. I know it was occurring because during the time that I'm alive, because I knew two of the doctors out in the North Ogden area who did their internship there at the OD hospital.
So were there Chauncey?
Yeah, Chauncey Michelson,
Michaels?
and the other one was was taller. And
Distinguished which OD hospital, because the first one was down in 1969. The community hospital was 70 until it was, for that it was always called the UD. Now that's the OD. So which OD are we talking about?
I don't know. So when I came to town, there was an old white building there. It's not there anymore. That's the UD.
Yeah, that used to be called the UD because there was an OD that was put down on the park in
That's what he showed us.
1969. Yeah.
I assume that's where the resident, was it, they were obstetricians. I mean, all the ones I knew that trained were obstetricians.
well, at least I know they did obstetrics, and I don't know how wide the training was.
So now, is Clark Rich related to Charles Rich?
Yes,
So what's the relation?
it's like it's either his great grandfather or great uncle.
Is it right?
It says in here somehow.
Yeah, I think, and Carolyn Rasmussen is a Rich. Her grandfather, I think, was great-grandfather.
Her father
Charles Rich.
was Junior Edward Rich, a physician in town. Her grandfather was Ezra.
There's two, Ezra C. Rich and Ezra I. Rich, a grandfather and a great-grandfather.
And Charles Rich was her.
It must be cousin.
And her son is Nebaker.
Yeah, Adam Nebaker.
She had another son too in Salt Lake.
But Adam's father was a physician here in town.
Conrad Nebaker, who was buried inside the casket in Idaho, made out of the barnwood on the ranch.
Okay.
Very cool. Thanks.
Thank you. That was really wonderful.
That was cool.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. This episode was produced by Clark Madsen, Teresa Pasquedra, and the Board of Ogden Surgical Medical Society. Our executive director is Teresa Pasquedra, and editing and sound designs were provided by Zoe Mosher, with the support of the members of the Ogden Surgical Medical Society. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you in the next episode.